You're welcome to Business Edition, your most interactive business show, where we talk about opportunities for the youth, employment opportunities in every sector of the economy, whether it's agri, whether it's trade, whether it's commerce, whether it's banking, whatsoever you want to think about. This is Business Edition, and you can find it right here on Business Edition. My name is Kwesi. You're welcome to today's show. We are live on DSTV channel 277. We are live on Facebook, and of course, we are live from our studios here at Laboni, Accra. You can put up your comments on Facebook. We'll try as much as possible when we get our guests seated here in the studio to answer your questions for you. Today's topic is a very controversial, for want of better words, let me put it in that way, controversial topic. I'm sure all of you will be interested. We are looking at cannabis, whether we should legalize it or not, whether we should support it, the promulgation of it in Parliament or not, and what are the medicinal opportunities, what are the employment opportunities, the financial opportunities that come out of it, and the threats for the lay people like us. What exactly do we think about it? This is what we are going to discuss here on Business Edition tonight, so you want to stick and stay with that. But just before we do that, or just before we come back into the studio, the Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, was in Kumasi today talking about the achievement of the NPP government. What has been the economic achievement to us, the people of Ghana, and how have we benefited from this government? Let's hear him out.
The Vice President said the combination of prudent macro and microeconomic policies and programs implemented by government over the last 3 years has strengthened the economy. Dr. Bawumia said the change in the country's fortunes has been acknowledged by the international bodies.
The government of Nana Kwaku has therefore kept its promise to reduce the rate of borrowing that was taking place before we came into office. Absolute terms, the interest payments on the debt have increased over the last 2 years.
The Vice President also added that the NPP government has worked tirelessly to tidy up the mess created by the NDC in the financial sector. He stated that the decision taken by the Bank of Ghana protected the deposit of about 5 million depositors, while jobs were protected due to the creation of the Consolidated Bank to merge 7 of the 9 banks. He assured that depositors of the collapsed banks would receive all their locked-up deposits just as directed by President Nana Kwaku Agyemang.
With much better debt management, interest as a percentage of our GDP, the GDP is our income, has actually declined from 6.9% of GDP to 5.6% in 2016, to 5.6% in 2018, and 5.7% in 2019. So we are reducing the burden of the debt on the budget by reducing debt as a ratio, or the interest payments as a ratio of GDP, from 6.9% to 5.7%. That is a major achievement that has taken place.
The Bantamahene of Kumasi, Bafo Asariosu Amankwetia IV, who represented the Asantehene, bemoaned the state of insecurity and poor sanitation in the region. He, however, applauded the government on its flagship programs.
Some murders have been going on in Kumasi mysteriously. And so far as we are concerned, the police, who are responsible for our security, haven't talked about it. Now, we know that in the Western democracies, what usually happens is that when these things happen, the police, they come out to solicit for help. At least they make the citizens see that something is being done about it.
Well, you welcome back from the story. That was Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in Kumasi, touting the achievements of the NPP government and how the people of Ghana, especially the youth, have benefited from it. And so you may want to analyze it yourself. Well, I'm sure we'll do proper analysis of his statements and all the things he mentioned in our next week's episode of Business Edition. But tonight, we are talking about cannabis. I don't know how you call it in your local language, but a lot of people know it as weed. A lot of people know it as other forms of names. I would not want to preempt my guest here tonight. For some of us, it's going to be a night of education. We are going to learn because we have to unlearn the things we know or we have learned about what we know as we. Let me introduce to you my guest here in the studio. I will start from my extreme right first before I come to my very own veteran. So I have to my extreme right, Dr. Wycliffe, my extreme left, thank you very much, my extreme left, Dr. Wycliffe Hubaird. Yes. Doctor is the Chief Executive Officer of Cannabis Access Ltd, and he has a very long profile. I'll try as much as possible in the course of the discussion to let you know who he is, what he's done internationally across Africa in different countries, the kind of advice he's given to several governments and the kind of support he's given to several countries in line of what we are set to talk about tonight. And to my immediate left is a senior sports journalist, a veteran journalist, a senior broadcaster, a whole lot, a businessman, a coach, everything that you can talk about. For those of us in the media fraternity who have followed him, learned from him, studied him from afar, it's a privilege to have him here in the studio tonight. Our very own Nana Kwaku Agyemang, who is now the president of Hemp Association of Ghana. Well, we'll go into that. But Nana, thank you very much for joining us. And Doctor, thank you very much for joining us in the studio as well. I'm glad to have you here tonight. We are talking cannabis. Let me start with you, Nana. I read a bit about some of your write-ups, and I saw some kind of a differentiation between hemp and is it cannabis, or what is cannabis? Let's learn. Most of us know it as weed.
Well, we here in Ghana we call it Indian hemp, and I think that's created a lot of the confusion. And so when we talk about hemp, we're really talking about what I would call cannabis indica, which is the weed, as you say, that provides the psychoactivity and gets you feeling euphoric, etc., etc. Now, on the other hand, you have the cannabis sativa, which is mainly industrial. It's industrial. It's not something that you smoke, that you would indulge in smoking, because I see that the main concern we have in our society is the issue about smoking. So cannabis sativa is industrial, and cannabis indica is the one where you find THC, and that's the compound within the whole thing that provides the high, if you like. Some will call it the high, some will call it euphoria, or whatever. So there's a distinct difference between the two. If I was to cultivate cannabis sativa, it would strictly be on the basis of growing the industry. It's industrialization. The entire studio can be made out of cannabis sativa. The building, everything can be made out of cannabis sativa. The clothes you're wearing, the shoes we're wearing, the hat I'm wearing, absolutely everything can be made out of cannabis sativa, which is industrial hemp. Whereas on the other hand, you're looking at medicinal, by and large medicinal benefits, which the doctor can expatiate on much more better than I can. That is good for all of us. Epilepsy, autism, Alzheimer's disease, etc., etc. Numerous diseases that benefit. If you suffer from any of those ailments, cannabis is one of the things that can really deal with it proficiently. All the cancers, for example.
I know that, of course, you would be talking about the business aspect of it, but let me come to you, Doctor. When we hear of cannabis, I mean, those of us who just know it know about the negatives and the fact that it gets people high, the fact that it gets people, quote and unquote, mad, puts them on the street and all of that. When we mention cannabis, what exactly should we be thinking about?
Okay, well, my explanation of cannabis is slightly different from Nana's. Cannabis refers to a plant with different species of the plant. for simplicity purposes, there is a male species which we refer to as hemp, and the female species which we refer to as cannabis. Cannabis is known as weed, ganja, marijuana. They're all the same thing. That is cannabis. Hemp is a totally different plant and refers to the male plant. The male plant provides the pollen and pollinates the female plant, and the female plant consists primarily of the flower. That is where most of the medicine is in cannabis. So that is a simplistic explanation or distinction between both. We do not tend to grow the male plant and the female plant together, because when you plant the male plant, which is hemp, within 50 miles of the female plant, it will pollinate the female plant, and then the female plant just turns to seed, and all you will get is more hemp. So in order to get cannabis, which consists of primarily CBD and THC in varying amounts, as opposed to hemp, which consists primarily of CBD and very little, in fact less than 0.3% of THC, then we're talking about hemp. So there are no intoxicating effects to hemp. You cannot get high or intoxicated on hemp. You can get intoxicated on cannabis. So that's the distinction that I wanted to make very clear, so that we understand. Nana will tell you, has told you some of the benefits of hemp, and there are significant benefits in the commercial world. In terms the table that we're on here, the chair that we're sitting on, the clothes that he's wearing, hemp. We can use hemp. We can get that from hemp. Not so from cannabis. Cannabis has more medicinal value to it than hemp does.
But you're supporting the fact that both should be pursued.
Absolutely.
We should grow hemp, we should grow cannabis because of, first of all, the medicinal use, and then because of the business that comes out of hemp.
The commercial aspects, definitely.
Yes,
I support both.
So,
not in the same location. As I said, not within 50 miles of each other. So I'm from St. Kitts, the Caribbean, and it's a small island. The small island like St. Kitts, with a population of 50,000 people and 68 square miles, cannot sustain both. We have to do one or the other because it's too small. One will contaminate the other. So St. Kitts has chosen to go the route of cannabis, not hemp.
Can we do that here in Ghana, or we have enough land size to be able to produce hemp and produce or grow hemp and then grow cannabis as well?
Well, absolutely. Ghana is a big country, and I think as long as we stick within the guidelines that the doctor has prescribed here, the 50 miles, because I know of it too, then everything will be fine. A farmer who's cultivating cannabis outdoors will not be affected by another farmer who's cultivating hemp outdoors 50 miles away, because the pollen won't come across to it. So there's no problem at all. There must be clear regulations that help us to determine where the location should be for each particular cannabis strain. So that's not a big issue within itself. I think the main issues, as we're sitting here today, is the enlightenment of the general population.
Yes, exactly. So I was going to come to that. Not even the general population, the Ghana Police Service, because we see them, we see them catching people who are growing cannabis all the time. But probably because we don't know about some of these things that you are teaching us now.
Yes.
If they knew that we have to grow hemp only and be able to have commercial value out of it, and then grow cannabis somewhere else and have medicinal value out of it, they would probably be able to regulate it well.
Correct.
But let me allow you on your point, and then we can talk about the business.
It's about the law, isn't it? I mean, at the moment, we're in Parliament. We've gone through a process of dialogue.
I was going to come to that, yes.
With the Parliamentary Select Committee, etc., etc. Gone through the Narcotics Commission Bill 2019, page by page, and as it stands today, the Narcotics Commission Bill has had its second reading in Parliament, and we're now going through the amendments. Even today, in Parliament we were going through the amendments. I believe there are about 80 or 90 amendments. Once we finished with that, then the bill would have its third reading and then the House will vote. To be perfectly honest with you, there's no opposition as such.
To the bill?
There's no opposition as such to the bill.
No, Doc, I'll come to you, but let me get this clear from you. Are you, as a major stakeholder, satisfied with the content of the bill? Because I think the discussion on the bill previously had been about the growing of it and the medicinal use of it as against the regulation itself.
Well, the issue with the bill, to be perfectly honest with you, is what they term as recreational use. It's what everyone is concerned with. We like to call it adult use because recreational use, one could say everyone can participate recreationally when really they can't. And I'm sure Doctor will clarify the reason why they can and they can't. Now, in terms of the adult use, we have psychiatrists here who start saying if you smoke, you psychosis, and lots of other things, which for me, I believe by and large is scaremongering. I don't believe that is the way to educate the general populace on how they can get the best benefits from cannabis adult use. So as I say, we're looking at the bill at the moment, and one of the key aspects of it, some of the key aspects of it are that there are a lot of people in prison at the moment.
The punitive measure
because of possession of small amounts of cannabis. They're doing 5 to 10 years. That shouldn't be the case. We're actually destroying more lives by imprisoning these people than what they claim would destroy their lives if they were participating in adult use of cannabis. I think also what we also need to understand is that the issue of psychosis, by and large, is a perception. There are isolated cases of perhaps it triggering something off, but I think we've scaremongered enough, and it's time for the truth to be told, which is why I'm sitting here
with Doc.
Yes,
the truth. It's time for the truth to be told, because people don't really know the positives of cannabis. And that's why we'll institute punitive measures on people who are holding small amounts of it, as Nana is saying. What are the things we should know?
Okay, let me just explain to you, first of all, what cannabis really is.
Right.
And I'm going to speak in terms of cannabis, marijuana, the thing that they smoke, or the thing that they make oil from, which is the female plant. I'm going to specify that, because that is the primary concern about the elements of psychosis and other issues that you may have in terms of intoxication as a result of the use of this particular plant. Cannabis consists of basically 3 things. It consists of THC, which is called tetrahydrocannabinol, and that is the agent that gets people intoxicated or high. It consists also of CBD, which is cannabidiol, which does not get you high. You can take a whole room full of CBD, cannabis strain, high in CBD, you will not get intoxicated. And the third thing it consists of is a bunch of compounds called terpenes. Terpenes give the flavor or the taste or the smell to cannabis. So when people smoke cannabis and you smell it, you're not smelling THC that gets them high, you're not smelling the CBD, which is used for medicinal purposes, you are smelling the terpenes. And there are about 120 different terpenes in cannabis, each one of them having a different profile in terms of its effect on the human body, or the human. These terpenes and the THC and the CBD combine, and you get what you refer to as an entourage effect from a combination of these 120 terpenes with the THC and the CBD. And the net effect you get is from the net effect of a combination or an entourage effect of all of them.
The 3 of them.
The 3 of them. The third one, terpenes, being about 120 of them. The terpenes exist in nature, by the way. Mango has terpenes in it. It's called myrcene. And myrcene, if you blended a mango and blended the skin of a mango and drank it, it will cause you to relax. It's called myrcene. Limonene comes from lemon. If you blended a lemon peel or a lime peel and took it, it will cause you to relieve pain and also to relax. In fact, there's another terpene called beta-caryophyllene, which comes from black pepper, and that relieves pain. So black pepper does relieve pain. And in medicine, we have compounds, chemicals that we give to patients that have pepper in it, and it relieves pain. So all of these compounds are contained in cannabis and have a blended effect, as I said.
Let me come to you, Nana. I think the issue, as Doc is explaining, has not really even been about, of course, we don't understand, I think so, and a lot of regulators do not get the proper detail as Doctor is giving us. Perhaps they would have allowed the growing of it, but in a regulated manner, in such a manner that people do not abuse it. Because even as it has all of these positives that we are talking about, it still gets people high, it still gets people intoxicated. How do we, of course, you have followed the bill into Parliament, now it's going to be passed, and you have all the contents of the bill. How do we regulate the growing of it? How do we regulate making sure that it even creates job? I mean, you are for the business aspect of it. It creates job for the youth of our country. It rakes in revenue, because we know that in other parts of the world, in Europe, in Canada, for example, they have commercialized it.
Yeah. That's a great question, right? First of all, let me say that there's nothing wrong with getting high. When you take,
nothing wrong in getting high?
No, well, when you take your drinks, when you drink your alcohol, what happens to you? You don't get low, do you? You get high.
You do, of course, you do.
You feel euphoric, and that's legal, you know. And then you feel so euphoric, you jump into your car and start driving, and then you have an accident, you kill a few people, but no one says let's ban alcohol. No one says let's ban alcohol. That's by the by. But anyway, as it stands right now, with the contract that the Hemp Association have signed with this Portuguese off-taker, for a farm, let's say 100 acres, we're looking at employment of 400 people. That's just to deal with the farm itself. That's outside of the other people you'll be required to need when cultivation comes for drying and all the other...
The whole of the value chain, yes.
Yes. So you could easily look with 100 acre at about 800 people being employed. Now, it's significant because the deal is a 5-year deal, and over the 5 years, gross will be 56 million. 10 million of that will go to the government in taxes at 70%.
Let me get this clear. Let me get this clearly. You're saying that we can rake in 56 million Ghana cedis.
We can rake in. I've signed a contract, which is a 5-year contract, which rakes in 56 million US dollars over a 5-year period. No, what Ghana cedis? I'm talking dollars here. That's the business. That's the business. US dollars. I'm talking about 56 million US dollars, and I'm talking about government being able to earn 2 million every year.
Which is 10 million US dollars.
Which is 10 million US dollars over a 5-year period. The reason being that for every cultivation cycle of 100,000 kilos of cannabis sativa, industrial hemp, that I supply, I will earn 2.8 million US dollars. 500,000 of that approximately goes as taxes to government immediately. Yeah? So if I do four cycles, you're looking at what? 4 times 2.8. That's a lot of money. So when you do it, when you accumulate the whole thing, you're looking at 56 million, you're looking at 10 million taxes. You also have to pay your export duty and whatever other bits and bobs. Now that's just one farmer.
Exactly, that's where I was coming to that. For you as a single investor, that's how much we are talking about, 56 million US dollars.
That's one farmer. So the multiplying effect, just say it was 10. Let's just say it was 20. Look at the size of Ghana. Let's just say it's 50. How much is that? How much is that's going to be accrued for the government of Ghana that will limit the amount of times we have to board the plane and see the president give us this little wave with his cap in his left hand.
Going around the world asking for money.
Precisely. It means we are generating our own revenue stream. That's what it means. And that's just one farmer. You get 50 farmers, the multiplying effect sets in. Now, in terms of regulating it, for the hemp, it's easy in terms of regulating the hemp, because straight away, as we have said already, you know that the hemp is non-narcotic, 0.3% THC. It's strictly for industrial purposes. And initially, we will grow it to export. But after a time, once we accumulate significant amounts of money, then we can start diverting it to go into developing hempcrete, where we can build buildings like this building out of hempcrete. It's hemp herds mixed with lime. It's a living house.
I saw a picture of in one of your write-ups, I think in Australia or somewhere.
Western Australia.
Yes, where the hemp crates has been used to build a whole house, and people are living in it.
Well, they've built entire communities, and it's more than an issue of people are living in it. The fact of the matter is, it's eco-friendly, as when you build using hemp, it absorbs carbon dioxide. So this will reduce the greenhouse effect. It does release it back out again.
Have you told all of this to our parliamentarians?
Oh, they're very well aware.
You have lectured them on all of this? On the revenue, the amount of revenue that they will rake in?
They are very well aware.
I mean, you have met the plenary. You have spoken to them.
They are shocked, but they are aware. They are aware. Look at the textile industry. Our textile industry is on the floor. It's dying. It's on a respirator. And we're having cheap materials coming across our border. We're trying to monitor that. We can't deal with it. And it means that we don't have what it takes to produce our own textiles anymore. Hemp produces those textiles. Hemp produces cotton that is 20% stronger than the traditional cotton that we know of. And let me say this to you once again, there's an eco-friendly aspect to it, because an acre of hemp produces 20% more oxygen than an acre of trees.
Wow.
You see?
Wow.
Now, let me just expatiate a little bit more.
Right.
We had a problem at the Tano River. A truck went up there, it tipped over. The acid from the batteries it was carried
into
went
the Tano
in
River.
There, contaminated the river, aquatic life dead, etc., etc. Now, they have said that they've cleaned it up. I have my doubts about that. I would like to know what methods they use.
That's the Ghana Water Company Limited, how they were able to clean it up.
But I can assure you that not only for the river, but for lands where we have been doing galamsey and all these things, that when you plant hemp in such environments where it's toxic, it's poison, the hemp will absorb the toxic, the hemp will absorb the metals. It will, over a period of time, it will reclaim the land so that farmers can go back and use it. We can clear up the Tano River just by starting to plant hemp along the banks.
Let me come to you, Doc. Of course, this is because it's Ghana. I mean, we need to be able to. We need to be able to get to the point where we are legalizing it. The bill is passed and everything, and then the revenue for me, employment for the youth, for me, employment for the people, raking in revenue, setting up other businesses for our people to get jobs to do is primary to me. But let's come to the medicinal bit of it as well. You have had experiences in other countries. You have set up institutions in other countries to support the legalization of it and how it has helped them. What can you tell us about that? With your experience in St. Vincent and the other countries that you've talked about?
Well, I've been consulted by the government of St. Vincent to advise them on the legalization of cannabis, the path that they took towards legalization. This occurred in November, not last year, the year before that.
2017.
2017. So cannabis is legal in St. Vincent for medicinal purposes and also for research purposes. They have seen it fit not to legalize it for recreational purposes or for religious purposes. Canada, however, has gone the full route, and Canada has legalized it for recreational and medicinal purposes and also research. The question of recreation, let me just suggest to you, by the way, that I don't smoke, I don't drink, and 8 years ago, I would not have been having this conversation with you. 8 years ago, I would have told you that cannabis is an illegal drug, that it has no medicinal benefits, that is a gateway drug to other drugs, and all of that I have now learned to be false. As I said, I don't use it. I prescribe it for my patients, and they have obtained significant medicinal benefits for it. I use it for patients who have pain. It relieves their pain. It has fewer complications than the narcotics, which are highly addictive. I've been taking patients off of oxycodone, off of Tylenol 3s, off of Percocets, all of the opiates. In fact, you know fully well about the opiate crisis, where opiates are killing patients. Cannabis has never killed anyone and cannot kill anyone. An overdose of cannabis will not kill you. You will have a good long sleep, but it will not kill you. And I will explain that to you later on when we talk about the endocannabinoid system, which exists in humans.
You may want to add that. Unfortunately, our time is up. So please explain that point, and then I'll come to
the endocannabinoid system. Well, the endocannabinoid system is a system that exists in humans, and it is a system that allows the body to put itself in what you call homeostasis or balance. You cannot survive without it. And there are endocannabinoid receptors all over the body. There are CB1 receptors in the brain and CB2 receptors in the rest of the body, in the periphery and in different organs. The CB1 receptors in the brain are called anandamide and 2-HG. Those receptors are similar. Those receptors will receive the anandamide and the 2-HG, and the anandamide and 2-HG are what you call endocannabinoids. Cannabis is what you call a phytocannabinoid because it comes from a plant. And it resembles the endocannabinoid and does the same thing as the endocannabinoids. So it is as if this plant were made for the body. For the body.
Right.
And that's how it has its effect.
In all of this, it has to be prescribed by a doctor.
Yes,
we have to package it well. We have to put it in a way that people. I am concerned about the abuse of it. Let me.
We've been
on that, and then I can round up with.
I've been prescribing it for the past 7 years to patients who have pain, post-traumatic stress disorder, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, fibromyalgia, stress, anxiety, depression in selective cases. It is certainly very useful. And I don't want to leave without telling you that there are some complications that we need to be aware of. It can alter the perception. It can alter perception, and you have to be very careful when you're taking it. It should not be taken by anyone under the age of 18 because of the development of the human brain, which goes up to the age of 25. So issues like that have to be considered. I don't want to give the impression that it is without its problems.
I'm sure we have to find more time and talk about some of these things, and especially the packaging. But Nana, where are we moving finally from here? When are you expecting the third reading to be done? And then right after that, is there going to be a revolution? What are you expecting as a major stakeholder?
Well, I think that we're moving progressively forward with the parliamentarians, and they're looking at the amendments progressively. Things are moving forward. I was very happy today with the progress we made, for example. I think sometime this year, the bill would go through. I think it will have its third and final reading. I think there will be broad-based agreement in the House about it, and after that, there's a mandatory time period before the president will
append his signature
to it. After that, we can have a few more months while we now start looking at the regulations, at how we ensure that it is safe. And that is a crucial discussion where I believe all the stakeholders need to be involved in. I think there's got to be a lot of education coming from stations like these. I think we need to have billboards. I think we need to, create some little
We need to educate the people, let them understand what exactly it is.
Absolutely. I think we've got to do that. I think it's a necessity. But I think that we're taking a progressive step forward, and I think that we always like to boast as Ghanaians that Ghana is the gateway to Africa.
And so we should begin this.
I want to let Ghanaians know today that Ghana is the gateway to cannabis. And it's an industrial revolution that is going to take place. There's a medicinal revolution that's going to take place. And it's befitting that Ghana be the gateway for that revolution.
Thank you very much, Nana, and thank you very much, Doctor. One farmer, remember, is worth 56 million US dollars if the bill is actually passed and the revolution, medicinal and commercial, begin. Let's make sure we support this cause, and let's make sure we educate all people who do not understand what exactly it is that we are talking about. Cannabis is good for the body, and it's just good for the country. We'll continue this conversation. Of course, this is Business Edition, and we'll make sure that we touch on all angles of this very conversation. My guests in the studio tonight have been Dr. Wycliffe Hubaird, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Cannabis Access Ltd, and then our very own Nana Kwaku Agyemang. A lot of you know him as a coach, a veteran in the sports industry. I wonder why in the whole of the GFA Bruhaha we haven't been talking to him about it, but I'm sure the sports people will do. He's the president of Hemp Association Ghana. My name is Kwesi. Round up with the business quotes and investment tips. Good evening.